Welcome to the Mother May I podcast with Frank and Irene on Strong Island Entertainment. Gee, I hope I didn't make a mistake with these two. They promised me they'd bring in some really good guests. Well, anyway, here's Frank and Irene.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mother May I podcast with Frank Conniff to the left or right, and I'm Irene Brown. That's Mr. Frank Conniff.
Hey. I'm good. It's good to be here.
I hear you have some like really big news. Now, I was really excited, and then I started getting snapshots from your Instagram from like Carmen Lynch and everybody, because we've been talking about getting vaccinated. And Frank here, you know how they say shake a leg? Well, he shook two legs and got vaccinated. Frank, this is big news.
Well, you know what? It helps if you're like me and you're old and have underlying conditions like a motherfucker. That puts you up in the line. And so I was able, through our mutual friend, Jen Haggerty, who arranged it for me, because I'm too much of a lazy piece of shit to do anything for myself.
You're so not. I wanted to do it for you. She beat me to it because she's so efficient. Go on. So
I got an appointment at Bellevue Hospital yesterday, and I got it Sunday night for Monday, and so it was like a last minute kind of thing, and so I went, and it was kind of okay, because I thought that I'd have to stand online and stuff. And what it was is you went into a registration desk, you gave them your name, and then you sat in a waiting area, and then they called you, and then that took you to another waiting area, and then they called you again, and then eventually I got the vaccine, and then they have you stay for 15 minutes after that. Just to make sure you're okay, you're not having any bad reaction. And so I went there, and since it was a little last minute, I didn't quite have the proper paperwork in terms of proving to them that I belong there, that I had an underlying condition. I had an old letter from my doctor.
Mm-hmm. Now I'm going to intervene. Did they ask for the letter from your doctor?
Yeah, they did.
Oh,
they should, because they don't want people cutting in line and stuff.
Yeah.
But she looked at what I had, and she was like, "Do you have anything else?" And I was like, "No," and I was worried, maybe they might send me home. But then she looked at me, and she was like, "You know what? You're old and pathetic. You can pass."
Stop. So not true.
You'll let you through.
I'm glad that they were checking documents, because if we're being honest, when I went to get vaccinated, I had a doctor's letter from my physician, and they did not ask. Sorry, they didn't. I'm just telling the truth. So I like the fact that they're asking for that, but
yeah.
Point, let's just get the vaccination out. Let's get everybody vaccinated,
Right. And I got, if I'd waited a few days, I wouldn't need that anymore, because now it's they lowered, Governor Cuomo lowered the age to 60 for people to qualify, which I qualify. And because Cuomo wants he's trying to appeal specifically to the people's whose deaths in nursing homes he can underreport.
Oh, that's right. I thought when you said he tried to lower the rating of his approval, but you're right.
Yeah. He's done a lot for us older people, because it's very important to him to have people with short memories.
Well, you don't have to be old. You just have to be a middle-aged woman going through hormonal issues, Frank. I've got news for you. So you didn't tell everybody, because this is, people may not really like to discuss this openly, because everybody pushes the vaccination. We all want to get vaccinated. But I think some people have fears about the vaccination. Tell everybody how you feel. I mean, you look gorgeous, but how do you feel?
I look good because I also had a reproductive work done before I left the hospital. But I feel fine. I have a little bit of a pain on my arm. It's like no big deal. And It's really, I mean, everybody, if you can get vaccinated, the minute you qualify, apply, make it. The people who do this work are really good.
Angels.
They're really nice and they're efficient and it was a good experience. Like it took me 2 hours, but that's reasonable. That's not like crazy,
Yeah, it took me about 2 hours too. And by the way, when you go into that other section after you get vaccinated for that 15 minutes, do always go to that section because that's where they make your follow-up appointment. That's also
right. No, they actually made my follow-up even before I got my vaccine. I got my follow-up.
They were like, let's get this guy immediately. Okay. I know there's a joke there, Frank.
And then when I was in the after section, and then finally after 15 minutes, the woman there said, "How do you feel?" And I said, "I feel very grateful to you and everyone who works here." Boom! I said something fucking nice.
You nailed it. Ending it right. I always joke that thanks to the health workers is the new thank you God, right?
After what I went through, with my heart surgery, you know how I feel about health workers. I have a very high regard.
I saw you, and look at you now. I mean, honestly, it's amazing. The people.
Oh, by the way, after and I should say to people worried about how they feel after they get the inoculation. Afterwards, I walked 60 blocks home right afterwards.
Wow, that's amazing. See, it almost gave him more energy. Okay. And you feel good. You feel good. You feel like you're doing your part to like really, so we want to get the hell out. And this is how we do it, people. This is how we're going to get back to life. Okay. So the vaccination is important. Frank, everybody watched the royal interview.
I didn't, but I heard all about it.
You heard all about it. I didn't watch it either, but Oprah, right? She's hard to beat. Look at Oprah. She's amazing.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I really, the thing about the royal family is I so don't give a shit about them that it's
neither do I. They're royal twats.
But I did watch The Crown on Netflix, which did you watch that show? It's actually it's a really good show, actually.
Yeah. The Crown is great, but they're saying like there's this one quote where Meghan Markle said, "I went to the institution and said that I needed to go somewhere to get help, and they said they couldn't, that it wouldn't be good for the institution." And I'm thinking to myself, have they seen The Crown? If anything poorly reflects on the royal family, it would be The Crown. Am I right?
Yeah, the royal family is just it's such a pointless institution, and I guess people who grew up in England, maybe they have a empathy for it that I just don't understand. I'm also Irish, you got to remember.
Right?
So
yes.
We don't care for those British royals.
Yeah, I know you don't. I know you don't. There's that. The Irish and the Brits. But here's the thing: outdated racism, no place. And you know what? Institution. I feel like they flew over the cuckoo's nest. Those two. Who the hell wants to be in that sort of a situation, especially when you have like the family, which of course they continue to be. They didn't disclose any of the names. They just said that Queen Elizabeth had nothing to do with it. But she's also very complicit in the fact that she gave the other two grandchildren titles, but didn't consult. She didn't.
It's so silly, like, all of it.
It's also silly.
I mean, and Elizabeth, who does she think she is? The fucking Queen of England? I mean, come on.
She is a royal twat. I'm sorry. Are we not?
And Charles, once again, all of my knowledge comes from watching The Crown. That's all.
Right.
And I loved on The Crown too how they totally made him out to be like a huge twat, and they completely angled their point of view, like in Diana's direction, like more sympathetic to her.
Right.
And I like that they did that,
Right. And you know what? She deserves the sympathy. And thanks to her, they can actually live because they were stripped not only of their titles and protection, but they were also stripped of all finances. So now they're kind of living off of, as he put it, mum. I love that he calls her mums. It's almost like she had this insight into what was going to happen and she left them some money and that's. But I'm not worried about them because apparently they have let's see. I read this. They have how many million? They have like $1 million, multi-million-dollar deals with Netflix and Spotify. So her dream of becoming a famous actress is going to come true finally. This is amazing.
Finally.
Big moment. Finally. And another thing that I didn't know, Tyler Perry, they lived in his home. Say what you will about his movie, but he sort of like gave him a place to stay when they were like moving out of the, and paid for their security. How sweet is that?
Right, but a lot of their trauma came from having to watch Tyler Perry movies while they were there.
That can be damaging for anyone. Oh my God, it can be damaging. Okay, so we have, we're going to go ahead and bring our first guest, who's one of my dearest friends. Frank, you're going to be in. She's such a delight. She's awesome. Comedian, cat lover.
Right.
Tinder, you'd be, swiping right. Frank, this girl, she's extraordinary. Let's bring her on. Jodie Wasserman, everybody.
Hi.
Hey, hi.
Jodie, Frank, Jodie.
Nice to meet you.
Is it crackling?
It's not me. It must be you.
All right.
I know, I'm kidding. It's not crackling. You look ravishing, Jodie.
I do?
Yes, it's definitely you.
I don't know anyone else who can be. I'm always late. I'm like running late for a show that's in my bedroom. I'm like, oh no, they're I'm in the kitchen. They're calling me on.
I was going to say, there is no being late on Zoom. That's ridiculous, Jodie.
Yes, there is. I figured out a way to be late on Zoom.
So what's going on? You do have some crackling, but while we're figuring that out.
But it's not.
I don't know.
Now you're making popcorn? It's
not because we're hungry.
No, it can't be me because my microphone's fine. All right, how about
now?
Really?
But it can be you because the crackling just started when you came on, Jodie. I'm just kidding. I love you. All right, so we're going to bring on our other guest too. I love you. I have the privilege of working with her in a movie called Black Magic for White Boys by Mr. Oner Tukel. She played my best friend. She was also in Catfight from Oner. He wrote that as well because he's a prolific asshole. I love Oner. I just love him. And Anne Heche and Alicia Silverstone and Sandra Oh were actually in that. And this girl is divine and amazing. And I love her and she's stunning. Let's bring her on. Annie McCaine, Engman, everybody. Hello, darling.
How do I ever respond to these prompts from you? This is incredible. I feel like I should have known and had like an entire list of compliments for you so that that's the entire show. Are you still hearing the crackle?
Yeah, but I don't know who it is. We can't put a finger on it.
Blame.
Sweetie.
Is that my stomach, maybe?
We just got confirmation. It says it's Jodie.
I mean, I at least could have had popcorn with me. There's some 2 popcorn sticks over there.
Sabotaging the show. So, Annie,
hi.
Frank, because you never met Frank.
Hi, nice to meet you.
And Annie, Jodie, Annie. So, guess where Annie is right now? One of your favorite places. Tell Frank where you are.
Well, do you know Phoenicia? Do you know where Phoenicia, New York is? Woodstock.
Is that like up by Woodstock? Sure, I know of it.
It's a 10-minute drive from Woodstock. I just drove up from Brooklyn this morning.
Oh, do you have you have like a cabin up there?
That's exactly what this is.
Wow. Oh, that's my dream is to have a cabin up in that.
I almost want a tour, Annie. That's amazing.
Yeah, if you want to hire somebody else to fulfill this dream because it's really a lot of work. But we had time. You know what I mean? Had some time on our hands.
We had some time on our hands. Now, Annie, is this your cabin or is this your man's cabin? Oh,
it's my
it's all you, baby.
That's what's that. Yeah, and it's total rehab, and Danny and me have been working on it since September.
Well, that's the one thing that
put in some skylights.
I talk about my dream of having a cabin in upstate New York, but the one thing that I'm not going to do is renovate it myself and do all the work myself to make it happen. I I think I want a cabin that's really a condo in upstate New York, probably.
Oh, you can just rent mine. No worries.
Yeah, exactly. Because I was going to be renting it.
Gotcha.
Sadly, before COVID struck, I was going to rent a cabin in the woods for a little me time alone. And then I sort of got stuck here. But I think being stuck there is much prettier in the forest.
You are exactly my audience as to why it works out.
Kind of describe the setting of your cabin. I'm curious.
It is, first of all, my best friend of mine is also here, and she was like, Annie, you're yelling. And I was like, I think that's how Irene and I talk. Like, we yell, Yeah.
Yeah, we yell.
It's well, the snow is melting right now. That's the most exciting news that I can possibly share. But it's right on top of a mountain, and there's a river that you can hear from the front porch. It's very serene.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I think Frank and I will probably plan a trip in coming that way soon. So maybe we could just like crash her. Oh, there she is.
Oh yeah. We could end this podcast and you could be here by dinner. It's a simple drive.
So how long are you staying there? That's gorgeous.
It's very much come and go. It feels like it doesn't feel like these big long chunks of time that I have to plan around, which is fun. It feels a little more like a backyard than you otherwise might think. But I think that's also when it feels a little bit like work and you have to go up and like deal with things and like the trash is, how homeowning is
this is really
can
good
feel like a full-time job.
Because Annie actually plays guitar, right? Are you still doing that, performing with the guitar?
No, I so appreciate that you think that I play guitar. I play guitar player. I harmonize with lots and lots of people, and it is just so a thing that I love doing.
Right.
I prefer harmonizing than singing alone. Yeah.
We miss it. Jodie?
That's good.
How are you? How are you doing now? I want to go to you, sweetie, for a second. How are you hanging in with, how do you feel about the not performing stand-up? Because Jodie is a fantastic stand-up comedian. How are you kind of like, getting out your creative self during this time, sweetie? What are you doing?
I go in and out. Sometimes I'm like, this is great. And then sometimes I'm like, I don't know. I'm almost like stressed out that the clubs are opening again.
Right. Okay. So that's what we were talking pre-show. Now, are they opening again? Because our producer is fabulous, Mr. Bobby. Bobby, I'm going to get your last name one of these days. Mr. Bobby seems so fucking sadly incomplete. But Bobby was talking that clubs are opening for mute, and some of the music venues are playing. Are they opening the clubs? Are they reopening? Jodie?
Yes, supposedly April 2nd. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I can hear you. So they're opening what percentage are they reopening?
33.
33?
I don't know. Does it really matter?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's 33% or up to 150 people indoors or up to 200 people outdoors.
Oh, wow.
Translate to Broadway to make it sort of financially viable, but it does mean that smaller theaters can to me 150 people is huge. So that's a good audience.
33% is like 50% more than what I usually draw. So that's pretty good.
Exactly. And it's actually 10% less than what I usually draw. Frank. Okay.
Zing!
It's going to be like an open mic all over again. So Jodie, you cat is Jodie the cat person, Frank? It's hard to crackling.
I'm having a hard time hearing what people are saying, to tell you the truth.
Your crackling is really fucking up the show, Jodie, as much as I love you.
It just sounds like a fire. It sounds like we're next to a fireplace.
If you had headphones, that would be really cool. You could plug them in. Do you have any? But I know you don't want to mess up your hair. That's why I'm not wearing them either.
No, I'll go with my headphones.
Okay.
Distract us with these weird fake flowers.
What are that? What are you showing us? Are those like flowers?
Nothing. They were just like right off camera, and I was like, I just feel like this should play.
Is that what happens?
Okay.
When you live up state, you just people stop by with flowers.
Yeah, everything's just dumb. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just put clothes on for you. Yeah.
Oh, you didn't have to.
Yeah, really. We wouldn't want to. I don't know if you ever, that's a hot little bod that you have. So let me talk about you a little bit here. Let's talk about you've been, you're so multi-talented. I can't keep up with you, honestly.
Here's the thing. You guys proposed some fantastic questions that are not necessarily about me, but that I think are really relevant to all that was yesterday.
Yes, but before we get into it.
I like this. I don't mean to run your show.
Oh, yeah. No, not at all. We always have the topics laid back on. It is Women's History Month. That's why, of course, I have the 4 gals. And what I want to do is I want to celebrate.
Oh, no, wait, you said 4 gals. Do I qualify as one of the gals? I'm not objecting to that. Man. Yeah.
Well, yes. Cool. You know what? Frank is always one of the gals because he's so lovely and so kind. And so we are celebrating women and we are celebrating your accomplishments. Unabashedly, we're going to be celebrating those. Now, you're an actress. You've done a lot of stuff. You're multi-talented. Some of the questions that I asked have to do with with either reading a book or favorite women, who your impetus was, whether it was in acting or in a piece of work that you read. As an actress, sweet lady, who would you say was one of your strongest influences?
Strongest influences. That's interesting. I feel like everybody goes back to childhood, and I'm supposed to talk about like a very early theatrical experience or something, but maybe I'll go back to kind of like my college years, maybe like 2004, 2005.
I hate it was sort of saying that. You didn't have to throw in a year, sweetie. The rest of us are.
I thought, it had already exited my mouth when I had that secondary thought. But it was sort of my beginning in theater kid. It was sort of the beginning of indie film for me, and I remember seeing a movie called Off the Map way before the so-so TV series that was later on about doctors in Hawaii. But so Off the Map was Joan Allen. Joan Allen plays a Native American, as in she's half Navajo and half white, and she is raising her daughter in the middle of nowhere on $5,000 a year in New Mexico. And Sam Elliott plays her husband, and it's a movie about mental health, but it's like a 5-hander, and it was based on a play, so it's like 3 hours long, and you got to kind of stick with it. And like a character is certainly the landscape of New Mexico, and it's the child actress in this film was just so as child actors can very often and wonderfully be, just so free. She carries this entire movie, and Joan Allen was so just solid and quiet. And it was just a beautiful movie that I saw in this tiny theater. And then I later ran into Joan Allen like a month later, and she just gave me these like wonderful quotes about like, wow, no one's ever even seen this, and just gave me like some deep compliments that really like sat with me, even just based on the small conversation we had. And I was like, well, how interesting to be well enough known, or what a gift to be well enough known in what you do that you can just give people these diamonds that further affect them and that stick with them for so long, But
that's right.
So not to say it's necessarily Joan Allen. It was just sort of an introduction into women of all ages just carrying these really small casts, and then.
Well, that's remarkable. Frank, what would you watch a lot of? Have you ever seen the film that she's talking about?
No, you know what? I'm not familiar with that film at all, so I'm going to have to seek that out now.
Now we're going to have to see that film and seek it out.
It was more so just that, being a child actress, you were like, wow, this this kid is 10, and she's just so self-effacing, and that Joan Allen's just a favorite. So
yeah, she's always great.
Well, that's amazing. Frank, do you have a favorite one, like a female impetus? And you know what? I'm going to make it a little broader.
What do you mean impetus? I'm not impetus. I had too much to drink last night. Come on, this never happens.
That was like a clever plan. Like I wouldn't have thought of that
myself. I'm picking one for myself right now as we're
okay.
Jodie's having a lot of technical problems, making me sad, and she's leaving the show, and I want her to come back. But the Queen's Gambit. I loved that.
Oh yeah,
I thought
me
it was remarkable.
too, man.
I'm going in 2020. I mean, I loved her character. I love the fact that she was in a man's world, because yes, chess is, and I love the fact that she overcame all these adversities in her life. The character, her mother had mental health. There's a lot of shining the light on mental health you know.
Yeah.
And
And alcohol and addiction too in that movie.
and addiction.
Yeah.
The problem with alcohol and drugs, and how she sort of like overcame that, and it was a very inspiring series. It was amazing.
It was so great. I mean, I saw it, I think the first or second night it was on, and I didn't know anything about it. I watched it just on a whim. I hadn't heard anything about it, and I love discovering things that way, you know. And and it
on
was
Netflix
just
trending.
Yeah. But you know what?
Diamond in the rough. Yeah.
As long as we're talking about great woman performances, the one that I just saw that's the current film, and I saw it on Hulu, is the Nomadland.
Oh my God, I was choosing between two, and I was otherwise going to say Nomadland. I would love to speak to it as soon as you're finished.
Yeah, well, all I have to say is just Frances McDormand, who is always great.
She's
always,
incredible.
always
she is such a wonderful actress.
And she's amazing in this movie. The whole movie is really great, and it actually has a lot of non-professional actors in it.
Whom I've met,
which I love because it's raw, and I prefer that. You know, I sometimes
all the scenes just seem so naturalistic. They don't seem like actors performing scenes. They just seem like people having conversations with each other. And the whole movie is a very lyrical, poetic.
Wow, Frank.
With great, with kind of scenery of the Southwest that kind of reflects the mood of the people in the film, and it's really, really great.
Well,
I so respect you for saying this, because I was gonna say Nomadland, and then it made me think of something more obscure, and I was like, I might as well say the more obscure thing, because that's always fun. Because it's the same area as Off the Map. Off the Map was like my introduction to New Mexico that has since become a real part of my life. I have a sort of second mom I met on the side of the road who lives out there in the middle of nowhere, no cell phone reception within an hour. And New Mexico is a big part of my life, and 16 people, I counted at one point, 14 people had said, Annie, you have to see Nomadland. And my mom works with my quite well-known photographer brother on a lot of celebrating women in their older years kind of work, with photography and fashion, and sort of the antithesis, what these playing with ideas of the antithesis of traditional beauty as what to be concentrating on now and everything. And she gets compared to Frances McDormand quite a bit. And that's being a sort of a side note, but their work is interesting. And so not only Frances McDormand is sort of people throughout the year will say that to me about my mom, but then also just that was a part of, I've traveled to the 50 states on accident over the past 2 decades of just like not saying no enough, perhaps, or just like lots and lots of road tripping, or just like, if I have a car and I say yes to this, I can be there by tomorrow. So rock and roll. and I've just really been around, and the South. I've met 3 people who came on screen. I'd met in like the little tiny pub where the guy's playing the blues piano. I remember that.
Oh,
distinctly.
really? Wow.
Yeah, it's a real community of nomads that are quite real, and I was just crying. I was amazed.
And I really want to circle back to the fact that we're getting, I mean, she's extraordinary. Her range as an actor is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody have, she has such a broad range. I mean, she can portray all these different characters.
And she can be very funny when she wants to be, in some of the Coen brothers movies she's in and stuff,
Oh yeah, and Fargo,
That's
of course. She's extraordinary. She has a lot of range. But I also love the fact, and I'm definitely going to watch this as well. I love the fact that they're using unknowns. Okay, we're not going to say they're unknown people, because they bring that raw, organic talent to the table. That's so relatable. Sort of like when we saw Precious for the first time.
Right.
Oh, gosh,
And she was. I mean, I just watched that 3 weeks ago again, and I was just blown away again by that performance. Because it's not overacting, it's just the way that it's so raw and so it's so real. It's raw and
right.
real.
Well, I think No, go ahead.
I think if I could add something that I don't mean to be general, but just like a possible anecdote, is that it feels different. I've been a casting director for a lot of street casting, both in Los Angeles and New York, and in other areas of the country, even a little bit in England, if I were to sort of preface this, and that street casting, is maybe not an applicable term for Nomadland, but is really different in areas where there's no further interest in the lifestyle behind being on camera than simply what the story is or whatever they're doing in that moment, which it's just sort of a, not to say something typical and like it's all about the ego if you're in LA or New York or whatever it is, but they're not as conscious of what they're supposed to be in front of a camera. Again, if I were to make a blanket statement, that's not entirely true of everyone, but it's different.
Oh, she's back.
It's different than street casting in New York, where they're sort of, oh, finally I'm in this industry in some way, as opposed to just being there for that moment in that story.
So I'm going to go back to Jodie now that we have her and we're running out of time, and I feel like she's barely been on the show. I'm going to ask her the same question. We're talking about women that have inspired us, whether it's in a film, in real life. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
This whole crackling thing.
This
crackling thing continues. And then I logged on with a different device, and that still happened.
If there wasn't drama, it wouldn't be you, Jodie, Biff. You know that, okay?
Well, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to do another show.
And will be drama.
Because this is not working. I don't know what's going on.
I'm sorry. Well, it's never, somebody's blocking you, and I don't like,
this is for you, Jodie. I'll just
flower. This is really nice.
Flower.
I kind of wanted you to sort of like, I wanted you to participate in the conversation about your famous, what woman has ever inspired you. But I'm going to ask another question because I want to get this out of the way. And Frank, you'll have to answer this too. I don't care. Okay. We'll start with Jodie. Jodie, if there was some advice, you've been a lifelong comic. If there was an advice at some level, a piece of advice that you can give your former self to help the road of comedy in life, what would it be? Some level, like something, whatever profundity that you can extend to the little Jodie living inside your body.
What would be advice?
Yeah. Don't
take it so seriously.
I love
that's what ruined me, I think.
Number one.
Not ruined you. You're ruining the show, but you're not ruined. That's the main thing.
No, it just, you take it so seriously, and then you get everything goes in your head, and you're just like really heady about everything.
Mm-hmm.
If I could go back, I would just throw all that away. I'd be like, this all doesn't matter. What matters? Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Matter. Who cares?
In the broader scope.
Don't even get me started because it'll all come out,
Yeah, but I want you to come out, please. That's what I want. Jodie, I want you to come out here on this show with me and Frank because we need the ratings.
I feel like Frank's mad at me. Frank, I'm sorry.
I'm not mad at you.
Frank doesn't get mad. You can put Frank's fucking hand off and he wouldn't get mad.
I'm
mad at you.
Hey,
no, don't cut my hand off.
I would never. I'm sorry.
My hand has been very important to me during the lockdown. Believe me.
Oh my God, I love you, Frank. Okay.
And also, let me tell you another thing. I would get involved with people who supported me and didn't have like the horns against me.
Okay, the horns against me. We're bringing in the Jewish Italian Jodie. I'm good. You know the horns.
I hate the business so much. What? Let's talk about women and women's history.
Well, we are talking about women. We're talking about a little girl.
Women's History Month. Let me tell you something.
Okay, I love this. Please no crackling. Go.
The most grief I had in this business was not from men or whatever. It's from women. Women are the most catty in this business. They're the most unsupportive in this business. They're the most, and if you had to ask who treated me worse in this business, it was women, not men. So I don't understand this woman's, oh, let's support women. Women do not support women. Can I
Well,
tell
we
you
have to. We absolutely, you're right. I think that
Well, I also
it's hard to support a woman that doesn't support a woman. That's not supporting women. Women have to get together and really start supporting themselves.
they
Go.
don't.
Well,
So
I also feel like if you were to just add just the quickest comment, I don't mean to interrupt you, but that often an anecdote to that is that if you feel like there's a pie that you only get a certain amount of slices of, that creates an environment that can brew that kind of thing, and that to go back to the precipice of what
Don't
creates
give
that
Jodie a
environment.
pie. You don't know Jodie, Annie, right, sweetie? Remember your joke?
yeah,
I've not, no, we
because
haven't met.
you know, I understand. I totally understand what you're saying, but you're definitely what you're saying because it's true. It's like we're in such
Just
competition with each
posing
other
it.
that everybody is like, it's like a bunch of cats in like a little small space.
Competition.
It's a
But that's
competition,
because
but
women,
then don't walk around like you support women because that's what when you said like who do you respect as a woman? I respect women who take other women under their arms regardless of the competition and who
right.
help other women regardless of the competition because it's the women that claim they support other women and they don't. You know what they do? They jump on the bandwagon of every other person who supports that woman. You get what I'm saying? Like they're not supporting a woman who nobody supports. They're supporting a woman who already has heat on them and hopes that that woman will get something from the women that they're helping. You get what
Like
I'm
a
saying?
lateral movement. Like a
It's a
lateral
lateral
movement.
movement.
Well,
I see it all the time. It's all bullshit. I'm
I
sorry.
love Jodie speaks her mind. She doesn't hold back. And you know what? You're not entirely wrong. I have to say that because women, we need to be supporting each other a lot more. But I think it's because women have not been given shit. And there's such a level of misogyny and sexism when it comes to the industry itself. And so many, we have to realize that, there's only been one seat when the music when the music stops to get that ass in the seat, we have to create more seats when the music stops so that we can all put an ass in the seat, and that's what we have to do. So you would tell your former self to not take it so seriously. That's your advice as to little Jodie. Yeah.
And I would say, like, get the demons out of your head. You deserve it, just like everybody else.
You definitely deserve it. You're hilarious. One of my favorites.
I would say get out of bed early and do something. Things like that.
Stop, get out of bed. And you know what? The other thing on your list should be fix my fucking computer. That should be on the list as well, sweetie. I'm only kidding. I love you so much. I've known each other for 30 years. If it seems like I'm a little too harsh to her. Now, Annie, I'm going to ask you.
Wait a minute. I have to say, we can't keep doing this show with that sound.
Yeah, I know.
It's like it's nobody is going to be listening to this with that sound. Yeah,
that's true.
Going.
So I'm going to have to ask Jodie.
Let me log off because I'm doing the show. I'm going to go. You know what? Have me on another time when I have another.
And by the way, it was another.
You made your mark.
It was another woman who told me to do that to get you off the show. So just so you know.
Oh, I knew it. Did you do that, both of you? All right. Anyway, I'm so sorry.
We support
no,
you, Joe.
Don't apologize.
Yeah, it's not your fault.
Yeah, it's not your fault. It's okay.
I don't understand why this never happened before. Ever. So I'm going to blame the studio.
That's always the case.
I'll have you back another time, sweetie, okay?
Please.
Bye, sweetie.
Mwah.
Bye.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, that crackling was a lot. So bye, Jodie. So let's get back to the and I won't have her back if we're telling the truth because I know she's not going to fix her computer and she'll fuck up 2 shows for the price of I won't do it. Anyway.
I have to say, even just my girl Allie over here is a fierce producer. Of course, was like, this is how Bluetooth works, Annie. I was like, I'm pushing the thing. I swear, I'm good at it for other people, never for myself. Which is, I'm sure, a segue to an answer to one of your questions.
I'll make it a segue. So I was going to ask.
We're given to be on the Toronto podcast.
We're kind of running out of time, but I did want to get your input on if you could give the little Annie some advice or some prudence. What would it be?
I think maybe this is piggybacking, in fact, on what Jodie said, but it's sort of in the vein of not taking things so seriously, but just that actually nobody's thinking about you. Like if you afterwards you're really chomping at your own bit, being so self-conscious, that in fact that person has moved on to either being so self-conscious about themselves that they're onto that old tip, or just that whatever you're afraid of is like entirely made up onto yourself, and I used to confuse it with being really intuitive. Like I am so sure that I'm intuiting all of these reactions as really meaning this or really meaning that, you know what I mean? And sort of augmenting myself around whatever I was assuming people were thinking. And this is, I mean, it's not that phenomenal of a thing to say. We've all heard it before, but just that I think I now know it to be a fact that people were not thinking all these things that I thought they might be thinking about me.
Oh,
and
right.
I was like, no, nobody's thinking about you, man.
Yeah, no, it's almost like a little bit of insecurity or narcissism, and often they're linked together. I'm not saying narcissistic, but we think it's so important that the whole world is thinking about us. Frank, I've got the same.
This huge bag we carry. It's totally narcissistic. Just get out of your own way.
Yeah, just get out of your own way. It's true. Frank, what advice would you give yourself? Dynamite advice would you give yourself in this career starting out that you think would have made a difference?
Well, if I was talking to my young self, my very young self, first of all, I would say, enough with the fucking drugs and alcohol. Stop it with that shit. You're not getting anywhere with that, and it's just making everything harder, and it's pushing all your dreams back 10 years. So that's the first thing I'd say, and that would be all.
Absolutely,
I need to say, but
that's true, Frank.
What I
congrats.
What I'd say to comedians is the only advice I've ever given to any comedian is write every day, get on stage every night, and you'll figure it out, But it's you have to just keep and in the pandemic, of course, you can't get on stage every night, which is a big hindrance to doing stand-up. But I would say. Write every day and then put something up on YouTube, make a video, go on Zoom like we're doing. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Which I think is a gift of it, actually. It's actually a gift to kind of forcibly, for a short amount of time, to force people to have no excuse, but to just, I mean, you have all the resource, you're standing in your kitchen. You know what I mean? Like there's a balance there of actual opportunity.
Right. And I think I would say, piggybacking on Frank's thing, I would, actually, I would say to myself, if I had to give myself advice, I would say, listening to yourself too, because everybody has like this very cookie cutter blueprinted advice for people. And I feel like each person is different. Like the advice that I got when I first started doing stand-up was, I love what you said, write every night, get up on stage write every day, get up on stage every night. I think it was really important to be prolific. My advice was, run your set the same 5-10 minutes. And I feel like that's not who I am. Sometimes the advice that other people get not be appropriate for you. I like to be more prolific, but that was the number one. And Frank, you're ridiculously prolific. But when I started doing stand-up, that was like not the advice.
Well, I think you bring up a really great thing. Another thing to say to young people is when you get advice from people, like, trust your instincts about whether it's the right advice for you or not, because I've heard so many people give so many comedians bad advice.
Right.
Club owners especially.
Oh, God,
every great
worse. And managers and
every great comedian you can think of has gotten terrible advice from people, don't do that bit. When I started out, this is how long I've been around, like everyone was told, don't work blue, you won't get on TV if you have 4-letter words in your act. And, now we live in the most successful comedians in the world are all filthy. They all have
useful words.
So it's like some comedians, like, just follow your own path, because like Jim Gaffigan, he's never dirty, but that's his path. That's what feels right for him. Whereas, Chris Rock or someone like that is gonna do what feels right for them. But
and that's the most important, just to be who you are. Otherwise, you're going to be so in your head that
it's not happening. Frank, I can't echo that enough. And I always pontificate the same advice that you're giving right now. Follow your instincts. Me getting up every night, doing the same 10 minutes or whatever was not for me. And I wish if I could go back, I would have said, follow what you need to do, because that's what makes you unique, and that's how you're going to thrive.
Right.
It's not necessarily going to work. What works for certain comics is not going to work for you. You have to, and what you're talking about being blue. If it's not you, it's not happening. If that's how you talk, then how are you going to become somebody else and make it?
That's right, exactly. Yeah, just be yourself and stick to it. And even also, we've all had like really terrible shows, and like I've been friends for 30 years with Maria Bamford, who's one of the greatest comedians in the world, and she used to be sent home from clubs in the middle of the week because the people didn't get what she was doing, but she stuck with her thing, and now she's revered and has a very successful career. But she had to go through a lot of adversity to get there, of not conforming to what people expected to her and just being true to herself.
That's a long game right there. That's the long game.
It is the long game, but it's the you game. And that's the only way you're going to make it, if you are yourself and not somebody else. Follow your instincts. I say that 100 times. And another thing that I've implemented in my comedy career is, if I don't do well, I'm not going to throw myself under a rock. If I do great, I'm not going to be like, oh, I cry. You know what I mean? I just keep it in a very, I don't want to say flatlining, but I keep it sort of even kiltered, so it can't fuck with my head that much, and have so much of an effect on my emotions, so that I'm able to continue doing what I do, so that I can continue to push through and be myself, So yeah, I think we all have to listen to our instincts. At the same time, Annie brought up another point that, there are such a thing as false instincts. There are instincts, and then there are actually false instincts, So we have to be able to separate our real instincts from our false.
Well, also, just go ahead and make mistakes, and then you figure it out that way. There's no getting away from it. I mean, as comedians, we know there's no getting away from having bad shows. There's no getting away from decisions that you regret, but there's no way to just go through life perfectly with no pain anywhere.
Right, exactly. Life is pain. Okay. Mm-hmm. It is.
Life is pain, especially if you're a comedian.
Especially if you're a comedian. And it's not exactly painless as an actress either, is it, Annie?
Oh no,
I mean, I have no singular advice about this. This is like, I've never really committed to a traditional path. I've never had an agent. Like my path is who knows, I sort of take it as it comes, and have a lot. Yeah. I mean, there's no one way in the first place. And I don't even know if I have any specific advice. Like nobody needs my advice. You know what I mean? Like, and if there's,
I do.
If there was one thing I would say, I even started my own little podcast on my phone about this, and it's there it sits. But or just as simply freelance stuff. Like if there's one thing that women can do for other women that is super definitive to me, is that everybody wants to feel, again, don't mean to make general statements, but that it's nice to feel close and feel familial, and that's a distinctly stereotypical feminine thing, I think, to feel a sisterhood and to feel familial and good friends and keep that vibe. Oftentimes that can, for me, get confused with like, I don't need to be paid.
Right.
So the obviously the traditional path, when you have a team doing that for you, you show up gracefully and everybody assumes that somebody's taking for you. But for me, if I show up and nobody else is taking care of that for me, it feels like graceless for me to get to the bottom of it. And I have a whole other side of myself that can play businesswoman like that. But when it comes to myself, that's really hard. And to never assume.
Okay, and
this is
a very strong point. I think one of the greatest lessons, especially women need to remember and learn, is that, we can, I'm the same way. I can advocate hard for anybody. I mean, I'm tough. I will fucking throw down for somebody else. I just recently, and I'm not.
Somebody else, no problem.
Yeah, but for yourself, and I'm learning how to do that for myself. And once you start really doing that for yourself, it gets easier. It gets easier because you start to really believe that you are worth it. And you know what? I'm going to protect myself, and I'm not going to, I'm just going to say how I feel. I've learned to become very direct as I'm getting older. Give less a shit who likes me, who doesn't. You don't like me, I'm sorry. I already have like.
Well, and if somebody has a problem with that, then that's also somebody that like to get over being concerned.
You know, we want to be somebody who's direct. We want somebody to be strong and say how they feel, but then are we ready to accept that when we meet somebody like that? That's another issue that women face. You know, we love a woman that speaks her mind, that doesn't take any shit. But then often when you see a woman speaking her mind and not taking shit, there's a bunch of names that she's being called, not only from men, but also from women at times. I think strong women emasculate men, and they even make women feel like they need to go inward. You know what I mean? And look at themselves, you know?
Yeah.
So
there's a good meme that says difficult to work with equals got her shit together.
wait, say that again. I didn't even hear it. I'm so sorry.
There's a good meme. I'm making up the last sentence, but that's how I remember it. It just was difficult to work with equals she's got her shit together.
Oh, right. I love that. It's a positive meme. I do like it. So oh man, this has been fun. Thank you so much. I'm sorry for anybody listening, if anybody's listening.
It's good to see you. It's good to see you, Irene. Either way,
it's always so good to see you, Annie. You are a ray of sunshine every time. Let's talk about you quickly. Now, are you working on any projects right now? Are you working on something? Are you working on a film?
God, I knew you were going to ask me that, as always happens. And you're like, right, I should, you're like, ask me what my dad's name is. And I'm like, oh, you asked me. And I was like, I have like 6 things going on. You're like, But I have been really just actually, I'm a fierce interior designer, like can't not, like I'll go to the restaurant, you know, over there to the restaurant and like fix the painting. So this has been my life for the last 3 months.
Wow. You know,
I mean, so
you know how they say, what is it? What's that saying, Frank? The one about like master of blah, blah. No.
Oh,
what's that? I mean, it's like you have a lot of talent, and it's important.
We'll skip over this one.
Okay, I can't believe I can't remember it. That's what happens with hormones, by the way.
I appreciate you, Irene.
Hormonal. You start to Frank, you have something exciting coming up tomorrow too.
I'll plug my brother's book.
Oh, please.
Yes.
Go ahead, plug it. Yeah.
The thing that was bigger this year than anything that I found myself doing. Well, I was in another of Owner's movies in June. I acted with Max Casella. These are actually his headphones from the Sopranos podcast they gave him. That was in June and was July.
Yeah.
And that's called Scenes from an Empty Church.
Right.
That'll be coming out this next year. A very good masked movie. I mean, it's very of the now. And so that's another one. Love you, Owner. And then my brother's book about the work he does with my mom is going to the largest book fair, and it's like in the top 3 art books of the world according to the Paris Book Fair, etc. So, and it's just called Mom. My brother's name's Charlie, so it's Mom by Charlie Engman, and it's a serious coffee table book. So that's still the thing I think this year that I'm just going to keep plugging until the year's over, because that's the biggest thing that's happening in my family. Yeah.
That's great.
Sweet.
Well, it's an incredible photo book.
Yeah, and I'm so happy to see you again, Frank. You've got something going on tonight, my friend.
Tonight, 8 p.m. tonight. Traceable, you and I will be doing our live streaming Mystery Science Theater 3000 style movie riffing show of the classic movie Phantom from Space from 1953.
Nice.
And it's only $10, and it's at 8 p.m. Go to eventbrite.com for tickets. And also our friend, fellow cast member from Mystery Science Theater, Bill Corbett will be our guest. So that's
nice.
Be fun.
Exciting. I love listening to that. It's so great. I when I went to Brooklyn to see you, it was so much fun. Oh my God. And now everybody can join in. There's no damn excuse. I've got nothing. How's that? But follow me on Instagram.
Irene, you're doing a podcast right now.
What, sweetie?
You're doing a podcast right now.
We're here every Tuesday, so see you next Tuesday. You know what I mean, ladies, okay? 2 p.m. live, and follow me on Instagram at Irene Bremis, Twitter at Irene Bremis 13. And Annie, love you. Jodie, sorry that you dropped out.
We'll have to have her. Oh, great to meet you. Really wonderful. And we'll have to have her back with good technical stuff going on.
Yeah, we did good technical stuff. This time, we hear one crackling. We're pulling the plug on her. Okay? And if you're a woman out there, support Jodie Wasserman. Okay.
I know.
Yeah,
change your minds.
Support Jodie Wasserman, you backstabbing.
Change your minds, yeah.
Okay, guys, love you. Thank you, Annie.
Thank you, buddy.
Bye.
See you next Tuesday night. Tune in.
See you then.
Podcast with
Bye-bye.
Frank and Irene, babies. Thank you, Bobby.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Mother May I podcast with Frank and Irene on Strong Island Entertainment. Check us out next week when Frank and Irene sit down with, you know what? I don't know what these two are going to do next, but we'll see you next week.